welcome to the Snap UK. I'm here with Michael. Paul,
Hello. Hello.
I'm John.
Good evening.
But to start us off, I think we need to go immediately to the classified polls results.
For week 4 of the 2023 NFL season, New York Giants 3, Seattle Seahawks 24. New York Jets 20, Kansas City Chiefs 23. Dallas Cowboys 38, New England Patriots 3. San Francisco 49ers 35, Arizona Cardinals 16. Los Angeles Chargers 24, Las Vegas Raiders 17. Buffalo Bills 48, Miami Dolphins 20. Carolina Panthers 13, Minnesota Vikings 21. Chicago Bears, Denver Broncos game postponed due to lack of talent. Cleveland Browns 3, Baltimore Ravens 28. Houston Texans 30, Pittsburgh Steelers 6. Indianapolis Colts 23, Los Angeles Rams 29 after overtime. New Orleans Saints 9, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 26. Philadelphia Eagles 34, Washington Commanders 31 after overtime. Tennessee Titans 27, Cincinnati Bengals 3. Jacksonville Jaguars 23, Atlanta Falcons 7. And rounding us off, Green Bay Packers 20, Detroit Lions 34.
Thank you. So, an interesting week. I guess the biggest game of the weekend is the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. And after their runaway victory against the Broncos, I don't know, you get a 50 burger. I don't even know what you get for 60. I don't even know what 70 burger sounds fucking stupid. So they got a 70 points against the Broncos. They brought back down to earth as the Bills were incredible against the Dolphins. Josh Allen, like he looked like it was one of Josh Allen's best ever games, quite frankly, and that's saying quite a lot because when he's good, he's very, very good.
I completely agree with you. I think Stefon Diggs had a hell of a game.
Yeah.
But I think the Buffalo Bills don't always come roaring out the blocks. But I think this is just them now settling into a rhythm, understanding what they need, and a divisional game they really honestly needed to win, I felt.
The thing with the Dolphins is that it's not like every week is a blowout. They blew out an awful team, a bottom 3 team. The week before, they were held to 24 points by the Patriots, who aren't very good. Like, this was... I mean, I started last week's show with an apology to the Dolphins for claiming they might not make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
If Tua goes down, they still might not.
It's the important thing that Armstead went down because last year, when it all went a bit squiffy and Tua suddenly looked rushed and had no time to throw the ball, it was all because Armstead went down injured, and he's gone down injured. And if he's not able to play, then Tua's life becomes a little bit more uncomfortable. And you don't, if he's getting hit, it's not like, he's not going to last the season.
Oh,
I don't want to be a doom-monger.
No. The Dolphins are sailing. This is a bad loss, but it's not the end of the world. The Bills should have been and were one of the favourites to get to the Super Bowl still. They're still in their window.
Yes.
So it's not a problem. Josh Allen accounting for 5 touchdowns on the day is, what can you do? We know he has that in his locker. There are bigger concerns for me than Armstead because the line at the Dolphins has never been great. The Tua concussion history still could rear its, quote, ugly head at any point because it just could. And that's only emphasised by the Armstead injury. On this day, there was no dual threat in the running game. So Devon Achane 8 attempts, 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. Raheem Mostert, who's supposed to be the lead back, 9 yards on 7 carries.
And a fumble. And did not go well. Now, that's fine. They still picked up 142 rushing yards. But it feels like they've accidentally stumbled across this guy and given themselves a much better running game than they may have otherwise had.
Isn't that kind of the joy of the NFL, though?
Possibly.
You get these players that, like your Puka Nakua.
Means no worries for the rest of your days.
Yeah, I mean, it's just these players who you don't expect to do what they do.
Yeah.
And just like, I mean, even Kuka. I'll just have a mini stroke here.
If you couldn't, that'd be great.
Sorry, I'll just pull my trousers up.
Is it always a mini? Never mind.
Cooper Cup, the Rams weren't expecting him to have that connection with Jared Goff. These breakout players coming through is kind of the joy of the league for me.
Yeah.
I agree. It's just an interesting note that their running game is already moving in a different direction to the one they considered it would be in. So when you take that alongside the Armstead injury, the other question that I have with the Dolphins, Josh Allen is an elite quarterback.
I won't deny that.
Is Tua an elite quarterback? When his team is behind by 2 touchdowns, is he elite enough, or is he only good when they are on top, when they are dominant?
I think it's, for me, it seems silly to say it this way, but I still don't think there's enough evidence on Tua.
Maybe. That maybe doesn't seem silly because he's missed time with injuries.
Or he's been playing injured
Yes.
in the run-up to it. I think this is, I don't want to say it's a make or break season because he's got more time, but this is a good opportunity with a good team, and he seems to have a run of fitness, which I've now jinxed for next week.
I always look backwards for comparative players when we're dealing with the modern player. Not sure this is going to be a popular one, but I'll take it. Tua, at the moment, with lots of room to improve, reminds me of peak Tony Romo. When the team is good around him, he is capable of unleashing, and they dominate bad teams or medium teams. But when he is required to step up and win the game himself, you're not necessarily going to get that peak player.
Yeah, that's what I can see from Tua. If the conditions are perfect, he can be a flat track bully, and he will absolutely destroy especially with the weapons he's got. Like, it doesn't, you saw how quickly like Tyreek Hill can become free, but
he does everything quickly.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I can get the Tony Romo comparison. Like, yeah,
it's early days.
It is early days. But I'd love to see Tua, prove us wrong, and be the guy that's going to elevate this team. But at the moment, is there as well? We're making a lot of the offense. The defense was a rubbish.
This is a defense that could really do with that elite cornerback coming back into it.
It can, and it's got Vic Fangio. His defenses start out, they need time to embed. So, whatever, but
even when rushing Josh Allen, he didn't look flustered.
No.
Because he's Josh Allen. It doesn't matter.
No.
Against other quarterbacks, that will work.
He is absolutely elite. His movement is brilliant when he's fit, because he wasn't last year after the Vikings game. I think it was when his shoulder went down. When he's fit, like Romo calls him an alien, and it's quite apt. He's brilliant. But yeah, Tua isn't in the same league as him yet. No. And I'd love to see him, but he's just a peak athlete, isn't he? Like his quarterbacking is brilliant, but also like the fact that he's 6'5" and can run through players, and he's 6'7", isn't he? Josh Allen.
He's a big lad,
and like he jumps, he hurdles players. Like, it's freaky.
So, am I right in thinking everybody has beaten everybody in this division so far? So the Jets beat the Bills?
Bills.
Yeah, week one.
Yeah. The Bills beat the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Dolphins beat the Patriots, and the Patriots beat the Jets.
Yes.
So it's all gone round in a big circle in the division. There are huge gaps between the teams. There is no doubt of that.
You can't write this.
No. Well, people have tried. But it's just interesting to see how we said before the season started, this division, if you take these four teams and divide them up amongst other divisions, none of these teams would probably be worse than second in any other division.
Yeah.
I think that probably still holds. Maybe the Patriots are letting the side down a bit there, and losing Aaron Rodgers obviously does for the Jets. But fairly well, that holds up for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the thing we also need to consider for the Bills is Tre'Davious White.
Yes.
He had the Aaron Rodgers injury, didn't he?
He's got an Achilles injury. Yeah.
He looked really good prior to this. I know he's had a bit of a spotty injury.
Is it the same leg as he did last time?
That I don't know.
I'm not sure. I think it's the other one. But either way, he knew the second he went down, the helmet was off, the fist was pumping the floor. He knew. It was over.
Yeah.
So it's a big blow for them.
He is I wouldn't use the phrase elite, but he is high league quality.
Yeah, absolutely.
They do get Von Miller back this weekend.
Yeah.
Some form of Von Miller.
What's that Super Bowl MVP ever done?
But yeah, like it helps. But of course, it is a travel week for them because they are heading to London.
They are, to take on the Jags.
Yes.
So an interesting away game.
It is, although a home game.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's a silly old system. Talk to me. What's your favourite toilet bowl? Is it your one at home, the nice shiny porcelain one?
No, I've seen too much. I'm about to say shit, but which is true. I've seen too much bad stuff out there.
For me, it's I've just booked into the hotel. I've walked into the room, and I know I'm going to destroy it.
Favourite types of toilet bowl?
The 0.5% in Bedford, because once again, I'm walking in. I'm going to destroy this, and it's going to be very public.
The left-hand stall at Costco. Man, I fucking had some memories in there.
I mean, we've gone beyond where I'd hoped, but
the Bears and the Broncos, I'm guessing, is.
I mean, that was the toilet bowl for this weekend, and
God, the Bears can't even suck right, man.
I'm not commenting on that. So the Bears were 21-0 up, right?
Yes.
21-0 up over a Broncos team that conceded 70 points the week before and contrived to lose the game.
Yes.
31-28?
Yep. That Will Lutz trade looked decent.
I mean, where do you even begin to pick that apart? Because I have never sifted through shit, but we're about to.
I don't get how the Bears could do that. I know there's been big deficits that have been come back from this season already and historically, but I just don't understand how your offense can go from electric to turgid so quickly.
They don't have very
good players,
innovative offensive coordinator. So if you look at it, all they did was run. They got to a certain point and just ran the same play over and over again, which even the fucking Broncos can work that out. So it was a lapse in play calling. It was also like for a defensive head coach, they're appalling, and they've spent big on defense this year. They've brought in some big players, and the Broncos don't have a run game. They are bad.
Jaleel McLaughlin, 7 attempts for 72 yards.
Yes.
Who, sorry?
Jaleel McLaughlin.
Bless you.
Running back at the Broncos.
Yeah. Replaced Javonte Williams, who went out early. And, yeah, it's just... The whole thing is... Like, we on our thing, I wrote, nobody won this weekend. I know the Broncos technically won, but everyone knows that they are an extra time kick better than the Bears, and everybody's better than the Bears. So
I don't know. As a Giants fan, I reckon the Bears could give us quite a competitive game.
yeah, probably. Well, that's not.
I want to stomp on something very quickly from this game.
Go on.
I do not want to hear people telling me Justin Fields isn't talented.
Yeah.
28 of 35, 335 yards, 4 touchdowns. Yes, he got an interception at the end that killed the game for the Bears. But the guy is talented. Like, he had 25 yards rushing on 4 carries. They're not utilising him properly when he's allowed to. You were pointing out to me about his passing in college. It was really good.
It's brilliant.
And they're not utilising him properly. In this game, it looked like he was just playing. Like, I'm going to go and play and see what happens. And I hope he carries on because, innovative or not, it was working. It wasn't his fault. The interception, fine. But this game should have been put away. They had to get a defensive stop or two once the Broncos mounted a comeback. Sean Payton, for as much as we mocked him, I have no doubt is a better coach than Matt Eberflus.
I mean, yeah.
And it showed. Because he could not get his team to stop the Broncos in the second half.
The whole thing just... yeah.
But Fields has a really good connection with DJ Moore, 131 yards and a touchdown off 8 receptions. I finally looked really good again with Cole Kmet, who he hooked up really well with last year. 7 receptions, 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. If you were playing against Cole Kmet in fantasy, you would have been irritated because he quadrupled his points total for the season in one game. And Darnell Mooney again, who seems to have been forgotten this year, 51 yards off 4 receptions. The always difficult to forget Equiminius St. Brown, 21 yards off 1 reception. They need to be getting him into the game more as well. He's a good player. I think he's being underutilised. It was also a battle of players that I didn't know were still in the NFL.
Go on.
So for the Broncos, little Jordan Humphrey.
Wow. God, bloody... yeah.
Exactly. Bloody hell, I didn't know he was there. For the Bears, Mercedes Lewis had a reception for 8 yards.
He's 400 years old.
He's 41, I think.
Yeah, well, isn't he the same draft class as Rodgers?
2006?
Something like that.
Yep.
So I think he's competing to be the longest serving player in the league.
Yeah, he was born the year after me, 1984. So he's not quite 40. But
I am 3 years younger than him.
Yes, you are. This is his 18th year in the league.
Wow.
That's some going.
I felt sorry for Justin Fields at the end.
Yeah, me too.
I mean,
Because if you see it, he just sits there, literally disconsolate for like 20 minutes, and no one can get him out of this funk. I think Cole Kmet finally comes over and gives him a nug. But yeah,
there are far worse quarterbacks in this league than
God,
Justin Fields. We're going to talk about a couple of them, sure.
Yeah.
I do not want to hear it being pinned on him. If the coaching staff aren't getting the best out of his talent, that's on them. They're still in trouble. The Bears are 0-4, and for my money, comfortably the worst team. It's not close.
flatters them.
Absolutely, yeah. They can be 0-7 after 4 weeks.
Yeah.
That's where they should be.
But yeah, no, it's completed 16 passes in a row to start the game. Just
Lights out. He was really good. No problem at all. So,
I mean, you're right in terms of the Justin Fields thing. I just went on a bit of a Wikipedia run. The players he had at Ohio State, his wideouts were Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Jameson Williams.
yeah.
If you give the guy talent, he will perform.
yeah. DJ Moore this week looked good. And DJ Moore's a up and down.
But you only have to cover one guy.
Yeah. Well, they didn't. They had to cover Cole Kmet but eventually, when if you keep calling the fact that he's gonna take the snap, run to the right on a fake, the defensive ends are gonna go, it's a fake, I'll just hit him.
Yeah.
And that's all they did. But yeah. For the Broncos, we've seen Randy Gregory's been released.
Yeah, didn't they give him like a $25 million contract
Yes.
before the season started?
Yeah. So I have not quite sure the rationale for this, but I mean, he was good player before he joined the Broncos.
Here was my favourite fact from the weekend. The Bears are the first team to surrender 25 points or more in 14 consecutive games.
Jesus.
There have been some awful teams. Awful teams.
Some bad teams. Really bad.
This is one of the worst.
The thing about going around going, has your team won since October? Me and Griff's found one of every American sports team.
Yeah.
Every
franchise, yeah.
Every professional, and it is just the Bears that haven't won in a year. So, that's great. Well done, guys.
Right. Let's talk about the London game, because John and I were there at the London game.
Yes, we were.
Jags Falcons. Paul, you were not there. You were invited. You should have had my ticket, but, you weren't there.
Did you watch at home?
I did not.
So you didn't watch the Toy Story version?
No.
Do you want to talk about that first? It was actually quite good. I've watched bits of it back. It was.
It's creative.
Using Slinky Dog as the 10-yard marker is genius.
Now, I want to see that actually on the sideline. I want to see two guys as either end of the dog with a spring between them.
Running.
Yeah, running up and down the sideline. That would make the game so much better.
And at random points, knowing it can bring itself back in and make them hit, them fall over.
Yeah.
No, I mean, as is a lot of the NFL, it wasn't for us. It's for kids. But if it gets kids involved and wanting to, go out there, bash their heads and get CTE, great. I look all for it. So, No, big. I like that. I liked it more than the game itself, which was not much of a contest.
It's the same sort of thing we get served up every year. Two teams who just look a bit underprepared.
Yeah.
I don't know whether the flying to London makes that much of a difference, but I think it's the atmosphere. I think the atmosphere is flatter than they get in America, and it sort of saps a bit of the energy out of the game. There seemed to be no real thrust.
It's very respectful, crowd. Like there's a rumbling of applause when but of course the one of the best atmospheres I've seen for a London game have involved the Raiders. Raiders have a lot of UK fans. The Chargers, who seemingly half the crowd were Chargers fans. There was more Chargers fans in Wembley than will ever be at SoFi.
Yeah. And
brought a hell of a lot of noise. This was the loudest the Jags fans have been. But it's still for large periods of it. It's very fallow, and
it always seems a bit like a wasted experiment with the Jags.
Yeah,
because if you were going to build an audience here, you'd have done it by now. I mean,
it's building. It is building.
There are far more fans for the Jags than there used to be.
Oh, yeah. I have no doubt. But you wouldn't fill Wembley with just Jags fans, would you?
The first few games, Jags games we went to, it'd be almost like Jags shirts were the minority because you turned up in your team. So it was quite multicolour.
Let me replace that with a Blake Bortles shirt, young man.
There were a few.
We saw a few. Saw a few, but Lawrence 16. They are selling quite well. And
I mean, can I ask you a question from attending last year, which isn't necessarily for reviewing the NFL, but was there a lot of the casual fans who go for the experience because you can drink and don't necessarily understand the rules? We had people behind us last year who just didn't understand the game.
There was a lot of fans around who I think this was new to them. It was just something to get involved with. There's nothing wrong with that. It should be an experience you can just turn up to, have a drink. Yeah, it's a the halftime thing this year wasn't bad compared to
Tom Grennan.
Bedford Zone.
Yes.
But yeah, it's still, and I guess it's actually the crowd around us this year were less annoying than last year.
That's not hard.
Yeah, because
German people do like to smoke in a stadium, though, is what we discovered.
They bloody love smoking.
They do love smoking.
Yeah.
Let's concentrate on the game for a minute. Desmond Ridder is now 8 starts into his career. And despite the Falcons winning the first 2 games of the season, they did that kind of in spite of him.
Yeah.
Like, he's looked good on the odd pass. The rest of the time, he looks slow, indecisive, and to our eyes, not very accurate.
No.
He was trying to fit balls into windows that weren't there. And we all know you've got to be careful where you place your balls.
Very true.
Yes.
I didn't see anything, and I wanted to see from D. Rids something we could cheer for.
I wanted a good Desi Rids game, and
19 of 31, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. The interceptions were identical.
yes,
It was the same pass twice.
and like
One of them was a pick six.
one of them was a pick six, which you could just see coming. I know.
Yeah.
I'm about to say from a mile off. We are a mile off.
Yes.
but you could just see it, and like if we can see it, then
Desmond Ridder should be able to.
Yeah. The other issues for me, so we know the Falcons can run. So
Yeah.
teams lining up against them know they're going to run. Bijan Robinson, 14 carries for 105 yards. He looked electric.
He's brilliant.
He looked really good.
He could run past you in a phone box. He is brilliant.
Yes, it seemed to be. They didn't, for me, mix in enough Tyler Algier, who is a different sort of runner, much heavier runner, 7 carries, 16 yards. I get that. He's not as explosive.
Yeah.
But you knew if Robinson was on the field, it was a run play. It was
Yeah.
very predictable.
It was
They did-
totally predictable.
Cordarrelle Patterson coming back will be interesting.
Cordell
he was
Patterson
there.
was there. He was returning punts and kickoffs and nothing else. He had no other rushing. I don't think he had no receiving stats either.
Because they've killed the kickoff as well.
Yeah.
It is sad to see Cordarrelle Patterson come on, watch a ball go over his head.
Put his arms out,
Put his
walk
arms
off
out,
the pitch.
yeah.
They've killed the kickoff, and it's bad. I know, I get it, the safety thing. We all know I don't care about that. If you sign up to play in the
Well,
league, you sign up to play in the league.
I care about the safety thing more than
More than
most.
me.
More than
Yeah.
most. I still think the kickoff is a sad thing to lose because
So do I.
actually, like chop blocks, chip blocks,
Hmm.
they're much more dangerous than kickoffs.
Yeah.
They are killing players' legs, which I'm not a doctor, but I believe they need them to play in the NFL.
It's quite important.
These are bad things. For the kickoff, it's a sad thing, and it is a spectacle, and that's why we go and pay them money to go watch these games, because we want to see. Occasionally, you want to see Cordarrelle Patterson catch a ball and run 70 yards around people.
The Falcons, for me, need to get Cordarrelle Patterson involved in the game some
Yes.
way. Now, looking at their receivers list, we noted this at the time. How much had you heard Jonnu Smith's name mentioned before this game this season?
Very few.
Did you even realise he was still on the team?
I forgot he was there.
Right, 6 receptions for 95 yards. Like, he was putting up numbers, but slowly. He is not the guy you should be using as your number one receiver when you've got Drake London and Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts isn't as good as everyone
No,
thought.
he really isn't.
He is great if you throw the ball to him.
2 receptions on 4 targets for 21 yards. Not enough.
No,
It's not enough.
it isn't enough. They have a great player there. They just don't use him. And when they do use him, it seems to be in an absolute panic mode. And they're like, I mentioned it. 2/3 of the passes thrown at him last year by Mariota and Ridder were uncatchable.
Yeah. And this is the issue.
And this is the thing. Yeah, they have a great player, and he's going to be brilliant in year 5 or 6 when he's playing
Now,
for the Cowboys.
That leads me then to, and we were talking about this at the time, if the Falcons had wheeled Tyler Heineke out at halftime, you would A, not have been surprised, and B, you would say they could have won this game.
Yeah.
Because the Jags stalled out. In the second half, they did nothing.
They ran out of ideas.
They absolutely did. So Trevor Lawrence, 23 of 30 for 207 yards and a touchdown. But he basically did nothing in the second half. It was very, very slow after the break. And it felt like they could have put the Falcons completely away. And instead, they just waited to see what would happen. And it struck me as, I don't know, like it was almost like you say, they ran out of ideas. They scored 2 field goals in the second half. But they got off to such a fast start. They just could not seemingly shut the game down, even though 23-7 feels like a big win. It never did. It never felt like that till right at the end, did it?
Yeah, like
Ridder that got stripped for the sack fumble?
Yeah.
And then we knew we could leave because the Jags could kneel down, but they had done nothing up to that point to make you feel this game is secure.
Yeah. No, like Christian Kirk was
amazing.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Very underrated receiver.
Really,
8 receptions, 84 yards, but it was his name we kept hearing all day.
Calvin Ridley got the score when he broke coverage.
Oh, and he really did. Oh, he was unmarked in the end zone.
Yeah. But that was, basically all we heard all game was
8 yards
to Christian Kirk, and then it was 4 yards gained by Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
Basically, that's the only names we heard because both teams just had very simple. And, it happens, but it's...
The Jags look bland. The Falcons look blander.
Yeah.
It's two teams who don't seem to quite have the ideas. I think the Jags still have all the pieces to be really good, and maybe they're just still fixing it together. And after the explosive end they had to the second half of last season, we expected more, and they're not quite there yet. Do you want to play another game of players I didn't know were still in the NFL?
Go on.
On the Jags, Jermichael Hasty.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, you should have done. He was there.
Yeah. Well, I was always upset that Tank Bigsby wasn't getting enough. Because actually, ETN was he was asked to do a lot of running into.
He had
corridors.
20 carries for 55 yards.
Wow, it wasn't not great.
No, it
was.
wasn't.
He just couldn't get free.
Like I say, the Falcons to me look like a team a little bit low on ideas, but not being steered properly on offense. I would rest Ridder behind Heineke and try and win. Otherwise, you are going to lose some of these players.
I don't mind because Arthur Smith wants to run the ball.
That's fine.
Which is fine. But
it's easy to run the ball if people think your quarterback can throw.
We don't all have to be like Justin Herbert. But to have a competent quarterback enables you to confuse the defense. Because, Heineke, even if he's just going to hand it off, you have that, that he can air it out. London can get free.
Drake London is exactly like Pitts, though, like we were saying earlier. I've bought this Ferrari to keep in my garage.
Yeah.
Do you want to play another game of players I couldn't believe were still playing? He's on the Falcons.
Brett Favre.
Michael Pruitt.
Wow, that's enough.
Michael Pruitt is in his 8th year in the NFL, and I couldn't have told you he was active in the last 7 years.
Wow. Right. Yeah, forgot about him.
Did not even realise he was there, and I was at the game.
Yeah, but it's obviously we mentioned it last week. The Jags are signed at Wembley until next year. We'll see what happens, but
I think they'll be back, but maybe not at Wembley. It might just be at Tottenham.
Yeah,
I can't see the link being broken. They make too much money out of it.
Yeah, it is. But
and like you say, they are now selling to a much wider fan base than they were when we started going 7, 8 years ago, whatever it was. It was a long time ago. Bare time ago.
Also, the variable that aren't Jacksonville trying to get a new stadium.
They are doing some negotiations over in Jacksonville, but
basically pay for our stadium or we're gone.
Yeah,
it's worked for other teams in the past.
Or Bills,
Bucks.
It's whatever. But yeah, it's it wasn't the best.
Let's have a look at another team that got blown out. The Bengals managed a measly 3 points, losing 27-3 to the Titans.
How have the Bengals got so bad?
Well, this is the question. Now, the obvious answer is Joe Burrow can't move.
Yeah.
Why they're still throwing him out there when he clearly is seriously encumbered, I do not know.
Who's the backup?
Jake Browning, I believe.
That's the reason why.
And this is the question we end up with every year. Why don't teams have better backups? Part of the answer is they want to develop young players. Part of the answer is there's not enough snaps to go around to train the players, which is why they need a developmental league. But it's also bad planning. Bad planning. Because you knew that Burrow is the heartbeat of your team, and you know what it looks like when he can't play.
Yeah. It's the point now that Zach Taylor has to take some has to take some heat for this because he needs to rest him. If you're only playing a 40% fit Burrow, because you look at he can't move, everything's in shotgun. It's so basic. The line in front of him is shit. And it's paid a lot of money.
Joe Burrow's completion percentage this year, 57%. His previous lowest was in his first year at 65. Like, he is struggling badly. His yards per average from a career high of 8.87 in 2021 is down to 4.8 this season.
Yeah.
Just put someone else.
The longest play they had this weekend was 14 yards.
That's should be impossible.
That's embarrassing.
It should be impossible. I feel
when Mac Jones has that, we all come out and say how shit Mac Jones is.
But this is different only because this feels like injury.
Well, it is totally injury related.
I mean,
yeah, like remember a couple of years ago, Stefanski kept rolling out Baker.
Yes,
whilst injured, and you knew what he needed was a break. And I know different injuries because I think Baker was ribs related. This is leg related. Yeah. I don't know if a week break will help. Even I don't know when they're. We'll have to look at when their buys are. But
I believe he's about week 9.
That's too late. You can't. You could be 1-7 by then. The season's over. Well, there's no point in having a. You need to have this break now. Then you can build up again because if Burrow
7
week 7, so
rest him now. Rest him because you've got a chance to win 7 or 8 games after the break and be in the playoffs. But at the current rate, you will just injure him and he will miss the rest of the season.
Yeah,
and they're playing the Cardinals.
What was
Jake Browning?
What was your favourite play in this game? If the answer is anything other than Derrick Henry throwing a touchdown pass,
oh god, yeah, brilliant
to Josh Weil of all people.
It was. It also is. It will come up later because I loved it. It was brilliant.
Is that going to be your nomination for biggest balls of the week?
Yes,
I thought it should be. For me, it was excellent. The Titans back to 2-2. They seem to be finding some headway again. Tannehill was fine. Tannehill doing Tannehill things, basically 18 of 25, 240. But they are back on the right track. Derrick Henry, 122 yards rushing and a touchdown. They need to get more out of Hopkins. 4 receptions for 63 yards is not good enough. It's definitely been a struggle this season so far. But they're not a special team, and to take down the Bengals like this is very disappointing. Bengals down to 1-3. We need to look at them and the other 1-3 teams, and it's going to help us to where we're going next, which is we're going to look for 4 teams that we are confident are not going anywhere near the playoffs. At least 4 teams I want naming today. So a good place to start would be all of the 1-3 and the 0-4 team. So we know the Bears are 0-4. We've dealt with that already. Is everybody at this table, and there are only 3 of us today, is everybody at this table happy to say the Bears couldn't make the playoffs if the playoffs came to Chicago and said you're the only team in it?
Oh, literally, if playoffs was determined by a coin toss, I'd still not back the Bears because they'd lose the coin. Or, they are appalling. So I'm not going. I'm saying the Bears will not make the playoffs.
Bears no chance, Paul?
I don't know why we're having this.
The discussion is because Gary's backing the Bears.
Is he?
He is. He's not here, but he's backing the Bears.
The other 1-3 teams.
Does a bear shit in the regular season? Yes.
Yes, all over themselves, apparently. Yeah, the other 1-3 teams are the Giants, Patriots, Raiders, Cardinals, and Vikings.
Now, the Giants are and it hurts me. It really hurts me. The Giants are the only other obvious one there.
I think there's 2 obvious ones. I think the Giants and the Cardinals. I like the Cardinals. I think they're feisty. I think they are not good enough especially in a division containing the Seahawks and Niners. I think the Cardinals. I'm calling.
I think the Cardinals are still competitive.
I think they're competitive. I don't think they'll win enough.
And I think it's a struggle to call them off already. I would say you've omitted the Patriots there, who have lost Matthew Judon and Gonzalez, the star cornerback. Today they had traded back for J.C. Jackson.
Yes.
He is returning for a last-round pick in 2025. That is how little the Chargers think of him now.
I mean, they'll just be able to get his wages off the...
I believe so.
And J.C. Jackson should be absolutely thrilled to be out of there and back under Bill.
Yeah, and he will doubtless play better. But the issue... I mean, so the Patriots this weekend, we might as well deal with it while we're here, lost 38-3 to the Cowboys.
Yes.
They kept up with them for one set of downs.
Yes.
3-3, no problem.
Yeah.
And then completely went off the rails.
Yeah.
I have preached the Belichick is done. He is still an amazing, most of the time, defensive coordinator, but he will never go and be someone's defensive coordinator. He is no longer a head coach capable of connecting with the young players and inspiring them. It's not a thing anymore. He just doesn't look like he can coach anyone. And Mac Jones is fried. When everything is going right, he's fine. As soon as it goes wrong, the temper tantrums come out. He looks frustrated.
It's not even goes that wrong.
No.
Like,
he just gets frustrated so quickly.
Stop putting Bailey's a pay in. Because the moment it starts going wrong, you're going to get frustrated because you know you're going to be yanked off.
But he was absolutely... Like,
he was dreadful.
The fact that he was... Like, they pulled him when they did three drives from the end. Like, at some points, it's like his brain just frazzles and he starts throwing across his body.
All he did in college was win. He cannot cope with losing. He played for Alabama. They do not come from behind very often. Leave it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know how to cope with the adversity, and it shows.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me, regardless of what the stats or anything else say right now, that Mac Jones is anything other than quarterback 31 out of 32. 32 is Zach Wilson.
I think that's unfair to Zach Wilson.
Bullshit.
Well, we're coming to that because he had a slightly better game this week. But on the balance of 4 games so far this season, Mac Jones looks like an unathletic, temper tantrum waiting to go off quarterback.
But there's no offensive weapons there.
There's nothing. It's terrible. Which is another reason why...
He's not helped, but like there were other players having bad seasons. None of them are acting like a little brat like him. And it's as well, even when once his mind's gone, even the easy reads, he misses completely and he wants to do hero ball. And
I'm afraid I agree.
Belichick
has built a terrible roster. The running game, I mean, why we didn't go after Dalvin Cook and instead went after Zeke, who looks slow, like he has done for the last few years. And we're not in the red zone enough for him to be useful there.
I'm not against going for Zeke over Cook because Cook hasn't looked great at New York.
It shows some ambition. He's a much better player.
But, like, Ramondre Stevenson is a massive letdown.
Yeah, that's been poor. 14 attempts for 30 yards.
I don't mind Zeke as an accessory to a leading running back. Ramondre Stevens this season hasn't been that.
No.
And at the moment, I mean, I don't know what you could...
There's nothing worthwhile on this team that you would say would upgrade many other teams. When your lead receiver is Hunter Henry, who is a fine tight end, but he's not getting into at least half the teams in the league.
Well, what are you doing with him? Do you want him to be a receiving tight end and do you want him to be a blocking tight end? He ain't grown.
They want him to be both, and he can't. But our next best receiver was Demario Douglas.
Who?
Sounds like a terrible wrestler from the early 90s who'd lose every week.
That sounds like that's a Madden regen.
Yeah, Demario Douglas. Kendrick Bourne was supposed to be the live wire this season, 2 receptions for 36 yards. Devontae Parker has never showed up, really, with the Patriots. Juju Smith-Schuster looks like a terrible acquisition. Like, he can't get open. And we're just getting nothing out of players who on other teams have been serviceable. But those names I just read out, how many of them are getting into the Niners?
Oh God,
the
no.
Cowboys,
I mean, and
the Dolphins.
Yeah,
none of them.
None of them.
Juju on a good day?
No, he doesn't have good days anymore.
No, Juju.
He just won the Super Bowl.
He just won the Super Bowl and was good in the Super Bowl.
He was good in the Super Bowl, but he
was good in
hasn't
the
been.
season.
But he hasn't been good this year.
Oh, he's been awful this year, but of what you've done for me lately, Juju has some credit in the bank. No one else in that team does.
No, I think that's fair, including Belichick. And this is the point that can't be overlooked anymore. When the Patriots go 5-12 this season, he will be gone.
Yeah.
He will be allowed to walk, but he will go because it's over.
As you say, I think if he doesn't get 8 wins, as
Eight
a
wins.
minimum,
8 wins doesn't look as good as it used to now that there's an odd number.
But
I think 8 wins is the minimum requirement.
yeah.
You just need to burn it down.
Absolutely, I could not agree more. They need to get an established quarterback to train a young quarterback because you cannot have Mac Jones training Bailey Zappi. That doesn't work. I mean, if the Bears go out and get Caleb Williams, I would be diving on Justin.
Caleb Williams has said he won't go there. I mean,
Well,
he
and
said
this is the issue.
He'd actually make more. He's making more money from next in line.
Yeah.
That he said, I'm only going to play for like 6 clubs.
And this is the problem that college is going to have now and the draft is going to have now is that now that money is accessible in college, they can be picky. They can just say, well, I'm not coming out this year then, or I'm not going to play for you if you draft me, so don't draft me. You're going to get that a lot.
Happen, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see at what point the NFL has to step up and say, you either play where you're drafted, force a trade, fine, or you do not play in the NFL. We will hold your rights to one side until you play for this team.
Yeah.
I think at some point that may well happen now. But the Patriots, it was Belichick's worst loss ever, including the years he was head coach of the Browns.
Yeah.
And it was our worst defeat since his first season. Was it 2003? 2000? No, 2000. He took over.
2000, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the worst defeat before was 2003.
Right.
Where he was held to 0, but less points.
Yeah. I thought we lost like 35-0 to the Bills and went on and won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So
but that's not going to happen.
No, it's not. There's no hope for this team. It is like being a Giants fan for the last so many years.
It is. It's appalling. And the worst thing is, like, when fandom of any team, it's waves, and like the New England wave has been pretty decent.
Yeah. I don't get to complain.
I've got the 5 teams. Caleb Williams said there's a list apparently of 5 teams he'd only be willing to join. Bet you couldn't name all 5.
Niners,
Yes.
Cowboys,
Yes.
Jets,
No.
Rams.
Nope. So let me go through them because there's some of them that are very obvious. The Cowboys and the Niners. The other 3 are the Raiders, the Vikings, and the Giants.
Well, it's because he knows that they've all got spaces coming. Like, Kirk is going the end of the season.
Yep.
Raiders, Garoppolo is a transition quarterback. Daniel Jones has I know he's got a 4-year contract.
It's a break clause.
He's got a 2-year contract. They are teams that he will join, and as well, 3 of those teams are going to be picking really fucking early.
But there's also the fact that those markets, with the exception of Minnesota, are massive markets to be in.
Yeah.
The Vikings one, you get to go and play with Jefferson.
Yes.
So
even then, it's still a big market. Like,
yeah.
It's not media friendly. But yeah.
So looking at the other 1 and 3 teams though, where we started,
Yeah.
the Raiders, not a
appalling.
chance.
Not a chance.
Not a chance they make the playoffs. No.
No. Even in that division with Broncos.
They made Khalil Mack look serviceable again.
Khalil Mack got 6 sacks this weekend.
Serviceable.
6 sacks.
Aidan O'Connell, bless him. He looked
every inch the rookie quarterback.
Yes.
It was a quality moustache. He looked like. Do you remember the
like
team?
A guy called Aidan O'Connell.
Yeah. Do you remember the? I think it was made for TV movie Super Troopers.
I remember Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was a guy in that called Fav.
Yes.
Right. He looked like him.
Yes.
A slightly slimmer version of a comedic police character is what he looked like, and it did not go well. It was sacks galore.
Also, I know obviously we'll get to that game, but the Chargers still only won by a score, didn't they?
The Chargers winning at all feels difficult for them. They can't get out of their own way most of the time. So
I don't understand how you can have a roster that good, apparently.
Because you're run by Brandon Staley, who isn't very good.
As well, can I just say, each week, Josh McDaniel makes a really, really stupid call when in a decent position. Like, taking the kick the other week. This time, like, they were on the goal line. And, you know, they could have tied it. With 2 minutes to go, they have a chance, and what they did was try to throw the ball using Jacoby Myers as a block. Everyone just saw through it and just kicked, got to O'Connell. They should have won the ball. They are kicking themselves when down. It's really, I've got no love for the Raiders. It's funny to me, but
I don't rate Josh McDaniel, so
that's another thing.
No, he's certainly not flavour of the month in many places. And again, they carry on the way they are. It'll be over for him at the end of this season.
Yeah.
Do you want another update on players I didn't know were still playing?
Go on.
For the Raiders, Amir Abdullah.
No.
Amir Abdullah, 2 receptions for 14 yards.
There you go.
So, there's hope yet. He's been, in the league since 2015, 14 with the Lions?
Even he's been on the waiver wire since 2016.
The modern day Fozzie Whittaker.
Yeah. Fuck here now.
The amount of teams that guy's been on, he's probably living out of his car.
So do we still believe the Vikings have hope at 1-3?
No.
Yes.
I think yes, because if Kirk gets hot...
The defence is appalling, but you still have Jefferson, Hawkinson, and Kirk can...
Yeah. Now you have Cam Akers as well.
Cam Akers. I don't think they will, but they could.
Yeah, I couldn't kill them off yet.
If we had to kill off 4 teams here, I think there's 4 way worse teams here.
Oh, I agree with you. But that division, they are not in the top 2.
No, but it's a really poor NFC.
Really all I need is 2 from the AFC and 2 from the NFC that you can kill off and say will not.
Pats and Raiders, Giants and Bears, and...
Because nobody's mentioned the Jets here. They are also 1-3.
Yeah.
I have them making the playoffs.
Exactly.
They're
right now, who's more likely out of the Pats and the Jets? Because I think the Jets only need to swap their quarterback.
Yeah.
And they make the playoffs. I don't think the Patriots are that close.
I still feel Zach Wilson will still get 3 or 4 more weeks.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Well, they actually played the Chiefs very close, the Jets. What did they lose in the end? 23-20. Look, it was a good performance. Zach Wilson was fine. It's not enough to erase what you know is a terrible situation.
He's had good games before.
Yeah.
What happens is next week he comes on and he's shit.
Well, what has happened in the past is he's had a good game, and then he's come the following week with all the swagger of a man who's won the Super Bowl and then thrown 3 picks straight away. And I suspect that is what will happen again. But they do appear to be sticking with him. I didn't see Trevor Siemian anywhere near the starting lineup for this game.
And they do have the Broncos this week.
But maybe just Trevor being there is the kick up the arse he needs.
Or the education that he needs. Trevor Siemian is a good teaching quarterback.
Yeah.
So Jets Broncos is one of the... fine, we'll talk about it while we're here. Either the Jets scrape a win against a terrible defense and start to move forward, and we all think Zach Wilson's a great player, or, and it's possible and probable, that they get a beatdown.
Yeah.
I think they could lose this by 3 scores, and the Broncos aren't good.
No.
But I don't see Zach Wilson playing well 2 games running.
No, I don't.
And Russell Wilson's playing all right. He's not the problem for the Broncos.
No. They've got... I know that we know Judy and Sutton aren't world beaters like the potential they could have been. But they're serviceable. Russell Wilson's fine. It could be a really fun game, funny game. But yeah.
I think the Jets will crush them.
Yeah.
Could be.
You've been a big advocate of the Jets.
You look at that roster. All right, there's a reason Aaron Rodgers went there.
Oh yeah, the roster's brilliant.
The roster's brilliant.
That's what I've just said. Like they get a different quarterback, they're in the playoffs.
If they get a quarterback who can get 3 games together in his
consecutive games,
then they are fine and they will cruise.
I completely agree with you. I think there's also, I think the thing people forget is that Zach Wilson had an understanding he wasn't going to be playing this season.
Yeah.
To then, 8 minutes into the first game of I'm going to be spending the season on the bench, understanding the game better. Oh shit, I'm in.
Yeah, it would have been hard, but I mean, as well, like it's up to the coaching staff to prepare him for the other games, and he's not been great. And as well, let's not forget he in front of him was a 39-year-old quarterback with a bad line. It's gonna happen.
Did you see the Zach Wilson making history thing?
No.
Zach Wilson became the first quarterback with a better stat line than Pat Mahomes in Mahomes' 127 college and professional starts. Zach Wilson. And what that tells you is this was a one-off.
Yeah.
The Chiefs had a bad night. The Jets got an okay night out of Zach Wilson. It is not repeatable.
No.
It's just an aberration. It's like Geno Smith breaking Eli's Iron Man record.
Yeah.
It's just that won't be a thing next week.
I'm sure the Kansas City offense will just shake it off.
Right, you've mentioned it now. Fucking who gives a flying cock end about Taylor Swift? It's driving me up the wall. I don't care. Stop cutting to her.
Just a love story, that's all it is.
Is that a reference to a song?
It is.
I don't know any songs.
I see. I don't care, but
do you want to give me the Travis Kelce stats you gave me before the podcast, Paul, so I can finish your description of what you said was going to happen?
What is 6'5", 250 pounds?
257 pounds of pure muscle.
I stop cutting to her.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's become. I know it's all. What we're going to have is a new set of fat eyes on their product. They're loving it. The NFL's great because the Swifties are involved. And what's going to happen is, one day we're going to be sat watching the game, and a 12-year-old girl's going to go, the best thing about Kelsey there ran the bootleg and all this, and we're going to be out school because they are so into what she's into.
Paul, am I right in thinking that you've now got a list of Taylor Swift songs in front of you that you're going to try and thumb into whatever you say next?
I would do, but I'm just a blank space.
Shit, that's the one I know.
I've got nothing. I literally don't know what any of the songs are called.
I think the thing that I think for the NFL, I think the social media accounts, you need to calm down.
Yeah, really do.
Which, by the way, is another Taylor Swift song. But seriously, I do agree with that because after the first game, I think there were 7 posts from the NFL account.
Yeah.
I understand she's a global megastar and she's just come off this gigantic tour which made...
Are you suggesting it's a new era for the NFL? Boo! I got a thing! I did a thing!
I get that.
I got a thing.
But yeah.
Something to do with eras.
Yeah, it's...
I mean, I did see one disgusting thing, which in the crowd there was Swelsey on shirts.
I mean, I don't know if Kelsey gets any money.
They weren't even at the Kansas City game.
No.
The Chargers game.
Yeah, no.
If it helps, Taylor Swift recommends this podcast. She does.
You hope.
Yeah, she does. She loves it.
Okay, now we have to take a break before we come back with a few awards that we need to do at the quarter season point. Right, thank you for coming back. It's time for the quarter season awards. Whoa! Thank you, the crowd. We're going to have a quick look at the awards that can be handed out at the end of the season, but try and see where we are at 1 quarter distance. So I'm going to start us off with Offensive Rookie of the Year. I will make a nomination. I will select Puka Nacua, who has been comfortably the best offensive rookie of this season.
I can't argue too much for that, but I will put forward CJ Stroud.
Who would be my next pick?
I will agree with both of you, but I will also put forward Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson, also very good. Now, there are only 3 of us here. I have no way of deciding these
I
things.
would go with Puka Nacua. What a wonderful name.
Well,
Carried. Puka Nacua.
Puka Nacua, fine. Yep. But I think when it comes down to end of the season, I think CJ Stroud will be ahead of him.
Quarterbacks always win. I suspect you're right. But right now,
he's especially because he's come from nothing.
yep.
No, even unless you knew him from
What are
college.
you trying to say about his family background?
I'm just saying, unless you knew of him, like the Rams were expected to be appalling, and they've been fun. That's the thing. They look like a well coached team again. I hope the Stafford injury isn't as bad as it looked, because he looked like a statue the second half of the game.
It's hip injury. He's had them before.
Yeah.
He's saying he's going to be okay.
Yeah, I hope so, because he's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, he's been good.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
and John-
Puka Nacua is brilliant.
John Walford's halfway through selling somebody a pension. So
He's effectively you coming back to quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Defensive rookie. Now, for me, this one got my heart ripped away from me today as Christian Gonzalez has gone on to possibly season-ending IR. It is season-ending, right. So I was nominating Christian Gonzalez. I am prepared to step down from there because he's now out. Who would you like to put forward?
Devon Witherspoon.
Devon Witherspoon was amazing. There were 2 sacks against you.
Yeah.
We didn't mention how fecking awful the Giants were.
We've been awful all season.
That's true.
it's like there's 2 Giants fans in the room who didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I will also go for Devon Witherspoon because, great player.
I am carrying that. I've got nothing else. So, Devon Witherspoon.
Jalen Carter, a couple of the Eagle players. Mate, like Brian Branch from the Lions has had a good start, but at the moment, Devon Witherspoon's like a bit of a statistical.
He's a standout player so far.
If Tyree Wilson gets fit, he could be interesting.
Absolutely.
He went 7th overall to the Raiders.
Yeah. He's the Chandler Jones replacement who.
They really do need that now
Really do
because
need
Chandler
that.
Jones probably not coming back now.
Well, he's been released, hasn't he?
Have they actually cut him? Have they? I mean,
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Antonio Brownie.
Yeah, the gentleman has
Issues.
that need to be resolved, probably in a medical fashion.
And someone needs to take his phone off him.
Offensive Player of the Year, non-rookie. Anybody want to nominate? It's a tough one because
It's hard.
there's a few.
It's been a lot of the offenses haven't really got started yet, but I'm trying to think of someone who's not a quarterback because that's always a little bit more interesting.
It's got to be a quarterback though, so I'm going to say Jalen Hurts. The team are 4-0. They're looking really
but
good.
Jalen Hurts hasn't really got. This is the first game this week where he looked like the Jalen Hurts of last year. Like Josh Allen, has been for 2 weeks brilliant. The 1 week average, 1 week appalling.
You're all missing the answer. It's Christian McCaffrey.
It is Christian McCaffrey. Of course it is. He's brilliant.
It's Christian McCaffrey. I'm surprised that you didn't say that. He totaled 48.5 fantasy points this week. Now, whether you care about it or not is irrelevant. He basically won some people their leagues single-handedly.
Yeah, I think because he's been so brilliant now since he joined the Niners.
Yeah.
It's you forget him because it's
Because you can.
And the team's brilliant.
They're such a good team.
Defensive player of the first quarter of the season. Haven't put any thought into this in advance, have you?
I'd like to say TJ Watt.
You think?
No,
I like TJ Watt.
I do like TJ Watt. But
Of
I think
course.
he's fine, but I mean,
It's a difficult one to pick because fewer players stand out on defense. It's hard.
I mean, Micah Parsons again has had a wonderful
Now,
start.
Michael Parsons has been.
This is where I was going, Micah Parsons.
Um,
I don't know why you would opt to fight against him. I think there's very few players that are definitely better than that. Whether he has all of the stats to back it up,
there was a couple of the Bills defenders have been brilliant this season. Is it Micah Hyde's been like mossing players for interceptions. Like he's been like they've been brilliant. I think they're just a great unit.
Now, I'm surprised neither of you have said the name, so I was waiting for one of you two to jump in, but it should probably be Myles Garrett. He is the only player I would rank ahead of Micah Parsons right now. That Browns defense for 3 weeks was stunning.
Yeah,
I think the problem.
I think they've been let down this weekend by
they never had good field position to work from.
Yeah,
he's so good though. It's a bit like Mahomes. You forget. You underestimate how
want
good
more.
he is.
But Micah Parsons, I was happy with if that's what you guys want. But my only one above that was Myles Garrett.
I didn't.
You forgot about him because he's playing on the Browns.
Because he's always good. Yeah, he's been brilliant.
5 sacks. The sack leader, by the way, is TJ Watt with 6. And Khalil Mack, obviously, with 6. But Myles Garrett has been more impactful for me. So I'd like to put that forward.
TJ Watt is the only person who averages a sack a game.
Yeah. But he's brilliant. It's 0.97 or something like that. But yeah, he's brilliant.
MVP for the quarter season. MVP.
Oh, it's McCaffrey.
Well, it's McCaffrey, but assuming it always goes to a quarterback, and you don't have to, it can be McCaffrey.
If it's going to a quarterback, I know we had a bad first week, but Allen's
not Tua.
No. Even the games, even the 70. You know,
I'm just asking.
I think for 3 weeks now he's been between very good and like peak. He's got highs that no one else has really reached so far. Josh Allen for me, but actually, it's McCaffrey.
Well, I'm happy to put McCaffrey
because
again.
we're not Associated Press, whatever.
Yeah,
we can go beyond.
CMC carried. Coach of the quarter season. Coach so far.
I'm going to go on a different tack, just purely based on they're so competent you forget to put them in for things like this. Kyle Shanahan. Tell me a fault this 49ers team has had so far.
Yeah, I'd struggle with you. Yeah.
None.
And that's someone he's lost his OC. He regularly loses coaches and still maintains this amazing team.
Can we have 2 things for because Shanahan as well the team has just started in such
it's your show, John.
Form.
You can do what you like.
But for the rookie coach as well.
Okay.
Because D'Amico Ryans and Shane Steichen, both the Texans and the Colts are in much better positions than we thought they would ever be.
So which one of those 2 do you want as your rookie coach of the year?
D'Amico Ryans.
D'Amico Ryans by a country.
Me too. Right. Okay, so Shanahan and Ryans.
So no love for Jonathan Gannon. Pew, pew, pew.
They're feisty. They are a feisty team. I quite like watching the Cardinals, but I can't.
So are you going to get on the Arizona Cardinals bus?
No.
I cannot get on anything to do with Gannon after I saw that speech.
Yeah, the bus. Yeah.
The bus speech. Your biggest disappointment of the quarter season?
The New York fucking Giants.
Well, the O-line is appalling.
Because I'm not disappointed in the Patriots. I thought we'd be shit. I was hoping we'd be a little bit better, but I'm not surprised.
The results of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Now,
Bengals
is where I was going, but the Giants have also been atrocious.
Vikings.
No, they were always going to come back.
They were winning games by a score.
I know, but
I don't think
they're
so.
not. They are losing.
Same reason I can't pick the Chargers. I'm always disappointed.
Oh yeah.
So,
but
Bengals or Giants?
Bengals, I think because I predicted and 2 of the 3 people here predicted Bengals in the Super Bowl, and they are not getting there.
No, I did. So Bengals carried. So the slowly evolving Super Bowl pick. Now, like you say, 2 of us picked Bengals Niners.
Yeah,
I am sticking with Niners. I am taking the Bills.
I was about to say the Bills. It all depends on
This
injury,
one,
whatever, it will change through the season. But
I still cannot put all my faith in Tua and the Dolphins.
No.
Paul, any rise on Niners Bills?
I can't change my pick from that. I mean, there's.
What did you have before the season?
I said the Chiefs were going to win the Super Bowl.
So you still think the Chiefs? This one doesn't have to be unanimous. This is
I'm going.
It's more of a matter of where we are.
The one thing I will say from did you see the footage of Josh Johnson being held on one of the Chiefs plays?
No.
I'll show you guys the footage afterwards. There's one of the Jets' defensive ends is being held for about 8 seconds. As Mahomes is completely free and just runs through the centre.
It happens in every game, though.
I
It's
appreciate this, but
the refs are,
the media want Kansas City to win now,
exactly.
as opposed to when they won.
Also, the media want to take down the Chiefs because they are a dynasty. Taylor Swift's in the stands, It leads into the scripted thing that they win because they want to press whatever. But I think at the moment Niners Bills win, and I'm sticking with the Niners win.
Yeah, me too.
They look imperious.
I can't put the Bills in going too much further.
Why not?
Because the Bills always builds it up.
They've lost Tre'Davious White, but that does bring Damar Hamlin back, who isn't a bad player.
I mean, for a guy who was dead last year,
it adds to the script.
The zombie safety.
And they bring, the defence looks good, and they're bringing Von Miller in.
Does anybody want to give a special mention to any player or team they feel just deserves note after the first quarter of the season?
Rams, really impressed from what I thought was going to be appalling. Sean McVay could be in the Coach of the Year candidacy because he is effectively running Matt Stafford, Aaron Donald, and rookies.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys, considering people felt Mike McCarthy bastard was on a slightly hotter seat. Apart from the Cardinals game, they've blown out teams.
Yeah, but it's all defense. The only team that they've blown out on offense is the Patriots, even against us. It was all defensive.
But what wins championships?
Well, yeah, but their defense was good last year. What happens is they win 12 games and then they are home by early January. Yeah. That is what the Cowboys do. It's what the Cowboys will do.
If we're judging this after 4 games, I think the Cowboys deserve note. They have played some excellent football.
They have played some excellent defensive football.
I want to mention 2 players who have stood out for completely different reasons to me this season. The first one is Aaron Rodgers, notable by his absence. It has changed the whole landscape of the AFC. The Jets would be winning more games, possibly would be, let's say, 3-1 if not undefeated.
I think they'd be competitive.
Yep, I think they'd be more than competitive with Aaron Rodgers.
So
So he's notable by his absence. A player notable by his inclusion and his continued progress. Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Say what you will about Kyle Shanahan and CMC. Brock Purdy completed 95.2% of his passes against the Cardinals, setting a franchise record greater than Joe Montana and Steve Young.
Yeah, what have those two ever?
He hasn't lost a game yet since he became the starter in regular season football.
No. There are some very misleading stats that come from being on a very good team.
Of course. But man alive, he looks good.
But hear me out before you unfurl that face of yours, John. Jimmy Garoppolo was near unbeaten for that team. He moves away from that team and he's a bag of dog.
You win 18 of 24 starts for the Niners.
So I genuinely feel most people who've done 4 years of college could come into this team and do pretty well.
Apart from Trey Lance.
Yeah.
We didn't do 4 years of college.
Exactly.
I just think it deserves notification. Also, Jalen Hurts is 21 of 22 since becoming the starter of the year.
Yeah.
Could I also call it Anthony Richardson for someone we felt who could just absolutely Jamarcus Russell it?
Did you see him complete a pass while being absolutely steamrolled by Aaron Donald?
Yeah.
Donald picked him up and slammed him down, and he completed the pass.
Yeah.
And Richardson is not far behind for Offensive Rookie of the Year for me. The fact that CJ Stroud is so accurate is amazing. And
also, we're not giving enough credit to Nico Collins for this Texans team.
Yeah.
Or Robert Woods.
Get off the train for Robert Woods. It's left the station.
I think you'll find he's starting for my fantasy team this week because I've got no one else.
But Nico Collins is like
he's doing great.
100 yards a game.
But it's all like you look at Stroud when he's throwing to Collins, the throws are perfect. It's really fun to watch.
Yeah. I just think they deserve note. The fact that the first overall pick has probably been the worst out of those. Bryce Young hasn't really done much.
He's on a terrible
team.
On
a bad team.
That Panthers team is awful. Right, those awards lead us to our weekly roundup of notable awards that we need to mention. Biggest balls. Your biggest balls nomination for the week.
It's Vrabel. When so they lined up with Henry in direct snap. They had next to him Jeffrey Simmons, and what did the Bengals think? Oh no, what should we do? Timeout. We'll get a chance to let them change their mind, and we'll have a time to think about it. And what Titans do is they roll exactly the same players out and do what they wanted to do, which was Derrick Henry throwing it to the lineman.
Josh White,
yeah, fucking loved it.
It was beautiful.
It was fun.
It took some nuts.
It's hard to disagree with that. I'm really sorry.
I'm absolutely with you.
It's fun anyway, but the fact that they took a timeout to get themselves ready for it, and then they just did it anyway, and he was in acres of space.
See, I thought it was both the biggest balls and the sweetest play of the week, and that's a problem. So you now need to come up with a sweeter play than that for sweetest play of the week.
Shit,
because otherwise it's double bubble, and I'm not sure that's allowed.
I think just because of the impact it had on the game, it was the strip sack of Justin Fields which enabled them to get back
in the game.
Because I know it's the toilet bowl, and I know we've made fun of both of those teams, but to go 21-0 up and lose is a fun game.
We had 2 90-plus pick sixes this week. Witherspoon and one against Kirk Cousins.
Oh, it was a 99-yard.
99-yard.
On the second pass of the game.
Second pass of the game.
The confidence destroyer.
So, but because the Seahawks won, I'll give it to Devon Witherspoon.
Yeah, it was a
and it killed the game because actually, like, the Seahawks defensively were brilliant against a very poor Giants, but offensively they weren't great, and so that was the game-winning thing for me.
Well, I'll go with it, and I think I agree with Paul here. The Broncos strip sack of Justin Fields that got them going again. was everything that team needed in order to pick themselves up off the floor. Without that, they lose again, and Sean Payton is on the hottest of hot seats. So I'm taking the Broncos strip sack.
Fair enough.
Speaking of the hottest of hot seats, it's our hot seat monitoring station. Now, Brandon Staley's got 2 wins now.
Yep.
His seat is slightly cooler.
Yeah.
Zach Taylor doesn't look like he knows what he's doing as a head coach. He's a man living off a trip to the Super Bowl, which they lost.
But every time we say Zach Taylor's on a hot seat, he goes on some massive winning streak.
That's fine.
Yeah. I refuse to give him that.
I think this is a season of absolute pain because he's gonna destroy Joe Burrow until the season's over. And we saw what happened last time we had Zach Taylor without Joe Burrow. They were appalling.
So besides Eberflus, whose seat must be hot, regardless of what the Bears say.
He's burning his ass. You're a defensive head coach playing some of the worst defensive football going.
You've got Josh McDaniel, who I think should get no points knocked off for losing with Aiden O'Connell.
No, but I think his seat is hot because
I agree.
They are making some strange.
Do you want to talk about the Dayball situation? How much credit does he have?
Dable has lots of credit in the bank at the moment. I think they gave him. They've got Daniel Jones because of what Dable did with Daniel Jones last year. This year it isn't working. The line is makeshift. Like 11 sacks is a ridiculous stat. It's one off the record. Dable has credit. I think Jones would go before Daniel Dable
Or Wink Martindale.
Wink Martindale, yeah.
So speaking of coaches who have credit in the bank but are currently ineffectual, Mike Tomlin. The Steelers team look awful, and he has done nothing to
Matt
coach
Canada
them up.
would go before him.
Maybe, but the fact that he hasn't got rid of him already and continues to show loyalty.
The fact that the Bengals are so bad will help them.
Hopefully it does. I do not think for a second Mike Tomlin should be sacked.
No.
But show me something. Show me either you can coach Kenny Pickett or you have the balls to play Mitch Trubisky. Because at the moment you're doing neither.
Yeah.
And it's notable.
It is. Apparently Pickett will play this weekend after his
So I've heard. Bone bruise to the knee.
Yeah, but take him out.
Take him out of the firing line. I agree. Play Mitch Trubisky. Right, that concludes the show for this week. Hopefully next week we will have a fully fit squad. Jim currently extremely unwell because he's suffering. We don't know what with. Could be COVID, AIDS, leprosy. I don't know, but
Housemaid's knee.
Housemaid's knee. He's very poorly, and I suspect a little bit depressed. And I also suspect Gary is depressed because he's in Bolton,
somewhere.
Cheltenham. Ooh. An upgrade.
La-dee-da.
Oh, an upgrade. Driven up there in his post van today, is he?
Yes, he's gone to deliver.
That's a long old way to go with Jess's company. Right. Thank you for joining us for the podcast this week. We'll be back next week. Bye-bye.